Hello, hello, my darlings. Welcome to another amazing week here over on the Becoming Abundant podcast platform. I'm your host, Anna Maria Jinga, and I have such a fun episode ready for you guys in my mind. And funny enough, I already created some pieces of content about it on both Instagram and Facebook. So if you haven't seen them yet, maybe go and check them out. But if you have, get ready to dive even deeper today. Because in this episode, we get to speak a little bit about fear. Now, I had a very fun conversation with a client of mine at the beginning of this week where we spoke about fear and how, yes, fear is there available for us to steer us away from things that might harm us. But what we don't realize is that fear is not just there to protect us or keep us safe or keep us guarded. It's actually meant to be as a compass. It's a compass from pointing towards misalignment back towards being aligned. Fear is there as a flag to let you know, hey, you're actually not where you're supposed to be. You're actually doing something wrong that is not good for your nervous system, your environment, your space, your mind, your emotions, your future paced self. You are not where you're supposed to be. Fear is there pointing us in the right direction. Now, I want to add to that one thing. Fear can be very healthy when you have a very regulated nervous system. When we have a dysregulated nervous system, fear will show up even when it's something good for us. I'm not talking about those moments. I'm talking about when we're regulated, when we're anchored, when we're doing the work and things are focused well, and fear shows up randomly. It's not actually random, it's because it's trying to point you back on your path. So let's dive a little deeper into this today. I put together, I actually did research. I love doing research when I have like random things like this that pop up for us. So we're going to talk about some fun facts about fear so that we remember what fear is actually about. We're going to talk a little bit about myths around fear that people tend to believe. I'm going to walk you through some reframes for alignment from fear into what it actually can look like. And then we're also going to speak a little bit of life back into you. So, with that being said, let's dive into some fun facts about fear. Think of this for a moment. Maybe even think of this as a little piece of homework. If you want to do that now, you can do it now. If not, do it at the end of the episode. What do you believe about fear? Where in your life has fear shown up for you, and what has it been teaching you lately? Has it been teaching you to stay small? Has it been teaching you to play safe? What has fear been teaching you from that perspective? And then maybe for a second, shift into the concept of what if fear is trying to teach me to be better, to be braver? What's behind the fear? Because the thing is, let's go into fun facts right now. Fear is actually a very healthy emotion to have. When you're regulated, when you're anchored, when you're grounded, fear shows up as a guide. Fear shows up as a truth. Fear shows up as an awareness, as a personal awareness or an environmental awareness. Those all are great. Fear is also great when it can sharpen your senses because when you're afraid, your amygdala starts triggering a little bit of a flood of adrenaline, which temporarily heightens your vision, your hearing, your reaction, your speed. So your body is saying, yes, danger, pay attention. But at the same time, when we have that fear, it can help us be stronger. It can help us push forward. It can help us build more. So, fear, while it can cause a little bit of distress, it can also heighten our adrenal reaction so that we feel more anchored and present and focused. Another thing is that your brain can tell the difference between real and imagined fear. Simply imagining a fearful situation actually activates the same neural pathways as if it were actually happening in that moment. Which is why visualizing success, visualizing progress, visualizing a healthy body, healthy mind, healthy whatever, it actually works in reverse as fear because it calms the nervous system down. We want that. We want the power that fear can create when we know that if I feel fear here, what if I feel faith in the same situation? Feeling the same amount of faith where you would feel fear, that would anchor you even deeper into making the thing that you want to see happen a true reality for you. Now, another fact that I absolutely love, and it's very crazy because we forget that it's actually a thing, is that the fear high is very real. We can be addicted to fear. Our nervous system can wire itself to crave fear as a constant check in. So, some people are actually adrenaline junkies because fear can release dopamine, giving that sense of rush similar to excitement, similar to having joy in your life. That's why things like roller coasters, haunted houses are very addictive to some because they give the sensation of once you're done with it, you're gonna feel so relieved. Think of that in association with your experiences. How often do you tend to go into the most negative situations just so that when you see reality subconsciously, when you see reality after going to a negative situation, you're going to be like, oh, it's actually better. But then you go back into the negative situation or negative thought to feel again the high of coming out of it. And then it's a never ending cycle until we put a stop to it. Another thing is fear is very contagious. Humans are wired for emotional mirroring. So if you surround yourself with people that have fearful thoughts, you're going to feel like you need to feel the same things as them. Same goes with how we get to surround ourselves with people that are positive, that are happy. We get to feel happier. We get to feel the emotions that they feel because emotions are contagious. Seeing someone panic can trigger your own fear response even without a direct threat. So the thing is, when we feel these feelings, we don't realize how much of an impact we can have on our environment. If you have a pet, you will notice that if you are a fearful person, an anxious person, most likely your pet is the same because your pet doesn't know any different. He or she just sees you and they see you as a direct report of, okay, if my human parent is feeling like this, that means that they know better because they're bigger, so I need to feel the same way. So if you're an anxious person, your animal will be an anxious person. But if you're a peaceful, happy, ready to enjoy life type of person, that's how your animal's gonna be. It's funny how the environment we live in directly dictates who we are. Another fun fact about fear is that fear can be directional. And funny enough, there are many studies in behavioral psychology that show fear that often points towards what matters most to us. The thing is, fear points us to avoid certain things and aspects, but it also points to what actually matters, what is important in our life. So whenever you find yourself that fear is showing up and you find that it's keeping you away from achieving your dream, you're not looking deep enough behind the fear to see what's actually going on. Because if fear is keeping you stuck from achieving your next level dream, your next level goal or result or achievement, you're only looking at the bare minimum, the surface level of the fear of, if I achieve that, maybe I'll sacrifice too much and lose contact with my family. Or if I achieve that, maybe I'm gonna be seen as too superficial or whatever. But behind all of those things, it's the fear of not being accepted. And behind of those things, for a moment, we don't realize that when we're not accepted by the wrong people for us. We would never be not accepted by people who love us, by people who support us. We would not be criticized and not accepted for doing the right thing for us and our families and our environments when the people around us see that for us. When the people around us are the kind of people that actually honor who we are and appreciate and have the similar type of growth mindset as we do. So the thing is, fear is directional and points to what we want to avoid, but also the opposite, the mirroring to that is fear will point away from something but towards something else. We just need to turn around to see what that something else is. Because sometimes we just see fear and we get stuck instead of using it as a compass. We see fear as a wall instead of turning around and looking behind to see, wait, why did fear put this wall here? And then observe the environment and dig deeper into yourself. Because, and I want to step in for a second to talk about myths about fear. Because there are so many beliefs that fear is negative or bad. The truths are, when fear is seen as always bad, the truth is that fear can be a compass, pointing you towards growth, pointing you towards areas that you've been avoiding. When you're in alignment work and working on yourself, fear often marks where deep change can happen. It's a clear substitute of wanting to do more, but because of fear, we're stopping. When in fact, fear is there to tell us, yes, you need to do more here. Fear shows us where we need to dig more, when we need to go deeper. Or, better yet, when we need to see the things that are causing us fear and putting them down, because they're not always ours to carry. Another fun myth is that courage means having no fear, which is the biggest lie I've ever heard. I have heard so many people saying, I can't have courage because I'm always afraid. Courage is actually taking aligned action despite the fear. Taking aligned action no matter what happens. Fearlessness is rare and often very dangerous, actually, because fear is a guide. Fear keeps us safe and also keeps us quite alive when managed properly. Another fun myth is that you can conquer fear permanently. And I have been on that journey when I was younger, in my teenage years, thinking that I need to conquer fear and never be afraid again. But the thing is, the truth is, fear adapts with us. As we grow, new fears arise, but also our nervous system learns to recognize what fears are helping, what fears are very important to pay attention to, such as, hey, if there's a giant saber-toothed tiger running behind you, that's a healthy fear to run. But the same feeling doesn't have to come up when you're speaking in front of a meeting. There's no tiger, it's just people, and Janet from accounting, or whoever you have around you, and Bill from IT, picking their noses and being super bored of life, you're gonna do fine telling them a quick report. Fear needs to be trained. Another fun myth is that fear and intuition feel the same, which is such a big lie. And I'll tell you why. Fear feels urgent and loud, yet we think that that is intuition. Intuition is actually calm, peaceful, quietly certain. It's that inner knowing, going a little bit into Christianity. It's that inner knowing that when the Holy Spirit speaks to you, your whole body feels at peace and trusting. Versus when the enemy is trying to keep you stuck, it's going to feel like a rush. It's going to feel sweaty and gross and annoying and terrifying and very busy in your mind. Fear causes discomfort. Faith causes peace. So the two can actually be very interesting to work with when you do know how to work with them. Another fun myth is that all fear is irrational, when in fact, just like I was mentioning earlier, some fear is survival based and protective. But chronic fear without real threat can keep you stuck and misaligned. So, going back to the example of being in the meeting, feeling like a saber-toothed tiger is ready to chomp at your neck, when in fact Janet from accounting is just taking notes and whatever Bill is doing, doodling on a page, you can train your fear to show up when it's needed and trust that everywhere else it can take the back seat. So, my loves, here are some reframes around fear. Because we can move from fear means stop to fear means looking closer. That's one example. If something scares you, if something feels terrifying, it can either hold the very breakthrough that you've been praying for or a clue how to get closer to that. Lean into it before you lean away so that you see what's actually behind it. Another alignment is you can go from fear means I'm weak to fear means I'm human. Fear means I am aware. Fear is proof that you're alive, that you're stretching, that you're stepping into unknown territory, which sometimes feels terrifying. Not just going hiking in a bush, but just going hiking in the bush of your mind and learning and uncovering things that are happening there where you can feel out of control. But the thing is, it's just teaching you how to be stronger. Because fear is there to help you grow and expand and go beyond it and trust that if fear is there, it's just a guide through the valley of the shadow of death. That's it. We're gonna see the light and get out of it. Another alignment that you can work on is fear is a sign I'm off track. But what if fear is just a sign I'm on the edge of alignment? It's clearly a guide that something's off. But what if the guide is not just something's off, but it's a pointing, a compass, an arrow back into alignment? I feel fear when sometimes things are not fully clear for me. So that's when I need to get more in information. What does alignment feel like to me? So that I know when I'm fearful of something, wait, check in with yourself. Am I fearful of something because it's going to affect me? Or am I fearful of something just because I do not know what is next? Another fun little alignment reframe that you can work on is fear is my enemy. 2, fear is my compass. Your fears often point towards what matters most to you. And ask yourself this: is this fear protecting me? And is it worth protecting? Is that thing that I'm fearing worth protecting? Is that thing that I'm fearing true? Or is it just a creation of my imagination because it feels unknown? Another good one, and I'll leave you with this, with the reframes of fears. The thought that we believe that fears means I'm not ready, when in fact, fear means I'm about to be refined. God often uses the uncomfortable spaces between fear and action, just to shape us for what's coming next. God uses fear and situations where we might feel fear in order to help us grow, to help us be stronger, to help us as leaders be able to hold more. We forget that any challenge and any fear and any misconduct is actually there for us to see it, to learn from it, to put it down, because those are baggages that we do not need to carry, and then become the identity, the new identity of us that can hold all of that together. Because the thing is, we tend to forget how much power lies in us. We tend to forget how much strength lies in who we get to be, with fear, with adrenaline, with unknown, with doubting. Who do we get to be with all of that if they do not define us? They're there to strengthen us, but they are not there to define us. So I wrote a little insight, a little, not necessarily a poem, but it's a little bit of me speaking life back into you. So I'll read it for you guys because I really believe that it will help you feel more connected, to see fear as a helper and not as a roadblock. Fear is not here to paralyze you. It's here to point you back home. Not a home that's four walls and a roof, but a home inside you where God's voice is steady, where your soul remembers who you truly are. Fear shouts when we wander into misalignment. It pulls at your sleeve, whispering urgent what ifs. Sometimes even wraps itself around your chest so tightly that you forget to breathe. But beneath the noise, fear is a compass. And the compass only points when there's somewhere you're meant to go. What if the thing you're most afraid of right now isn't a sign to turn back, but a sign you're on the edge of your truest alignment? Fear says you're not ready, but faith answers, well, God is. Fear says you'll fail, but purpose answers, this is worth it. So today, instead of running from fear, hold it in your hands like a map. Trace the trembling lines until they lead you back to where your heart, your purpose, and God's call meet in perfect alignment. That is where fear stops being your captor, your roadblock, and becomes your guide. So, my loves, what if fear is not the enemy, but a sign to claim your power back? I hope you enjoyed this. I absolutely enjoyed speaking to you all of this about fear, especially because for the longest time, fear was the biggest chokehold over my mind. And if you know my first few episodes where I spoke about my testimony back to God, you know how big of an impact fear had over me until I was free from it. So I hope this meets you where you're at. I hope it helps you. Share this with a friend, a loved one, a colleague, a partner that might need a reminder that their fear is not there to hurt them. I hope you're well. Send me all your messages. Remember to like and subscribe. And my darlings, my loves, my fabulous community, until next week when we speak more life back into you, I wish you an amazing time ahead and remember to stay salty and bright. Bye now.